Mark was a whirlwind of dad energy. His shopping cart, half full of groceries, threatened to tip over with every turn. Lily, his 5-year-old daughter, clung to his leg, her bright pink boots flashing between the metal bars. "Daddy, can we get cookies?" she asked, her voice a sweet plea. He sighed, running a hand through his already messy hair. "Maybe later, sweetie. We need to find the pasta sauce first." Mark navigated the crowded aisles, his eyes scanning the shelves. He was a good dad, really he was, but sometimes, like right now, juggling work, single parenthood, and grocery shopping felt like an impossible feat. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a reminder about Lily's upcoming doctor's appointment. He muttered to himself, "Gotta remember to call." He spotted the pasta sauce and reached for a jar, nearly knocking over a display of tomatoes. "Whoa," he exclaimed, catching it just in time. Lily giggled. "Daddy's silly," she said, pointing a small finger. Mark smiled, his heart melting. Even amidst the chaos, Lily's laughter made everything a little bit brighter. Across the aisle, Sarah watched the scene unfold. Dressed in a faded blue sweater and jeans, she looked like any other shopper. But Sarah was anything but ordinary. She owned this supermarket and every other one in the chain. Yet lately, she felt a growing distance from the people who actually walked these aisles every day. She traded her power suit for simple clothes, hoping to reconnect with the customer experience. She wanted to see what worked, what didn't, and how she could make things better. But so far, she mostly felt invisible. People rushed past, focused on their own lists and worries. She noticed Mark struggling. The way he patiently answered Lily's questions even when he seemed stressed caught her attention. It was a genuine kindness, a quiet strength that she admired. She realized how much she missed seeing these small, everyday moments. Being the CEO had its perks, but it also built walls. As Mark and Lily headed towards the checkout, Mark noticed Sarah struggling near the exit. She was wrestling with a large, overflowing grocery bag, her face strained with effort. The bag looked like it was about to burst. Without hesitation, Mark steered his cart towards her. "Hey, need a hand with that?" he asked, his voice friendly and sincere. Lily peeked out from behind his leg, her eyes wide with curiosity. Sarah looked up, surprised. "Oh, that's very kind of you," she said, a little flustered. "But I don't want to trouble you." "No trouble at all," Mark insisted. "I'm heading to the parking lot anyway." "Where's your car?" He gestured towards the heavy bag. "Let me take that for you. Looks like it weighs a ton." Sarah hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Well, if you're sure. It's over in the far corner near the old blue sedan." Mark grinned. "Lead the way." As they walked, Sarah found herself increasingly charmed by Mark. He effortlessly carried the heavy bag while simultaneously keeping an eye on Lily, who skipped happily beside them. He answered Lily's endless stream of questions with patience and humor, never once losing his temper or seeming annoyed. "Daddy, is that car old?" Lily asked, pointing at Sarah's beat-up sedan. Mark chuckled. "Well, it's seen better days, sweetie. But it still gets her where she needs to go, right?" He winked at Sarah. Sarah smiled, her heart warming. It wasn't just the act of helping her, it was the way he interacted with his daughter, the easy affection and genuine concern he showed. She realized that Mark wasn't just being polite, he was a genuinely good person, a kind and caring father. It was a refreshing change from the often cutthroat world she inhabited. She felt a connection blooming, a quiet admiration for this man she'd just met. As they neared the old blue sedan, Mark and Sarah engaged in small talk. "So," Mark said, "what's for dinner tonight?" Sarah chuckled. "Something simple, I think. Maybe just pasta. It's easy." Mark nodded knowingly. Easy is good, especially when you're trying to juggle everything. He paused, then added, "Being a single parent is. Well, it's a challenge." "I can imagine," Sarah replied, her voice gentle. "It must be hard doing it all on your own." She subtly hinted at her own simple life. "I live a pretty quiet life myself. Just me and my cat." "A cat sounds nice," Mark said, smiling. "Less demanding than a 5-year-old, that's for sure." He ruffled Lily's hair affectionately. Lily giggled and wrapped her arms around his leg. The moment felt genuine, a brief connection between two people from very different worlds. The sight of Sarah's old car, combined with her simple clothes and talk of a quiet life, led Mark to a conclusion. Sarah was probably struggling financially. He knew that feeling all too well. He subtly searched for a way to offer help without being insulting. "You know," he said casually, "there's a food bank down the street. They're really helpful if you're ever short on groceries." Sarah's eyes twinkled. "Oh, I appreciate the thought," she said with a warm smile, "but I manage. I'm quite resourceful, you see." He hesitated, then tried a different approach. "Well, if you ever need someone to fix anything around the house, I'm pretty handy. Plumbing, electrical. You name it." Sarah chuckled. That's very kind of you, but I'm all set for now. But I'll definitely keep you in mind. She deflected his offers with grace and a touch of humor, leaving Mark feeling both impressed and slightly awkward. He just wanted to help. They finally reached Sarah's old blue sedan, its paint faded and a small dent visible on the back fender. Mark carefully placed the heavy bag in the trunk, maneuvering it around a spare tire and a collection of well-worn tools. All set, he announced, dusting off his hands. He glanced at the contents of the bag, a mix of basic staples. Hope you have enough for dinner, he said with a teasing grin. Don't want you going hungry. Sarah laughed, a genuine, light-hearted sound. Oh, I'll manage, she assured him. I'm a whiz in the kitchen. I can make a feast out of anything. She closed the trunk with a soft thud. The simple act of closing the trunk felt significant, like the end of a pleasant interlude. She knew this was where they parted ways, but she didn't want the conversation to end. Mark's kindness had brightened her day in a way she hadn't expected. Thank you so much, Mark, Sarah said, her voice sincere. You really saved me. I don't know what I would have done without your help. She rummaged in her purse and pulled out a coupon. It was for $10 off any purchase at her supermarket. A coupon she knew was usually only given out for significant customer complaints. Please, take this as a small token of my appreciation. Mark waved his hand dismissively. Oh no, that's not necessary. It was my pleasure. Please, Sarah insisted, pressing the coupon into his hand. I want you to have it. Think of it as a treat for Lily. Mark hesitated. He didn't want to accept charity, but he also knew Lily would love a treat. Well, if you're sure, he said, finally relenting. Thank you. We really appreciate it. He smiled, and Lily echoed his smile, her eyes lighting up at the prospect of a treat. Back inside the supermarket, Mark continued his shopping, the coupons safely tucked in his wallet. Lily, now even more excited, skipped ahead, her pink boots flashing. As they rounded a corner, Lily suddenly stopped, pointing upwards. Daddy, look, she exclaimed. It's that lady. Mark glanced up and saw a massive poster hanging above the produce section. It featured a sophisticated woman in a sharp business suit, her hair perfectly coiffed, smiling confidently. The woman looked vaguely familiar, but Mark couldn't quite place her. That's the owner of the store, sweetie, he said, not recognizing the woman from the parking lot. She must be important. He was too preoccupied with his shopping list and budget to pay much attention. He didn't connect the elegant businesswoman in the poster with the simple woman he had just helped. The contrast was too stark. Come on, let's find those cookies, he said, steering Lily away from the poster. Back in her office, high above the bustling supermarket floor, Sarah couldn't shake the image of Mark from her mind. She sat in her plush executive chair, but her thoughts were miles away from spreadsheets and profit margins. She replayed their brief conversation in her head, remembering the warmth in his eyes and the gentle way he spoke to Lily. His kindness had been a refreshing balm to her soul. In a world where interactions were often transactional and driven by self-interest, Mark's selfless offer of help stood out. She felt touched by his genuine concern and admired his dedication to his daughter. She found herself wanting to know more about him, about his life, and about the challenges he faced. He was a breath of fresh air, a reminder of the simple joys and genuine connections that she had almost forgotten. He made her want to be a better person, a more compassionate leader. Driven by her curiosity and admiration, Sarah discreetly used her position to learn more about Mark. She asked a trusted employee in HR to do some digging, emphasizing the need for complete confidentiality. She felt a slight unease about using her power in this way, but her desire to understand Mark overrode her reservations. It didn't take long for the employee to uncover some information. Mark was indeed a single father, working long hours at a local construction company to make ends meet. His wife had passed away a few years earlier, leaving him to raise Lily on his own. He was a dedicated and hardworking employee, well-liked by his colleagues, but he was also struggling financially, barely scraping by each month. The information only deepened Sarah's admiration for Mark. He was facing immense challenges with grace and resilience. She felt an even stronger desire to help him, but she knew she had to tread carefully. Now armed with a deeper understanding of Mark's circumstances, Sarah found herself drawn back to the supermarket. She began visiting more frequently, always in disguise, hoping to bump into him again. She timed her visits for the late afternoon, knowing that was when he usually did his grocery shopping after work. She wandered the aisles, pretending to browse, her eyes constantly scanning for a glimpse of him and Lily. Each time she entered the store, her heart fluttered with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. She felt like a teenager with a crush, a far cry from the powerful CEO she usually was. She knew it was a bit silly, even a bit stalkerish, but she couldn't help herself. She longed to see him again, to witness his kindness firsthand, and to perhaps find a way to subtly ease his burdens. She wanted to be a friend, a confidant, someone who could make his life a little bit easier without revealing her true identity or overwhelming him with her resources. One afternoon, Sarah spotted Mark at the checkout, and it was clear he was having a terrible day. Lily was clinging to him, tears streaming down her face, and Mark looked utterly defeated. Sarah moved closer, pretending to examine a display of magazines. As Mark began unloading his groceries, he suddenly paled. He frantically patted his pockets. "Oh no," he muttered, his voice filled with panic. "I forgot my wallet." Lily's sobs intensified. "I want my cookies, Daddy," she cried. Sarah saw her opportunity. She stepped forward, her voice calm and reassuring. "Excuse me," she said to the cashier. "I'd be happy to cover his groceries." Mark looked up, his face a mixture of embarrassment and gratitude. "Oh, I couldn't possibly," he started to protest. "Nonsense," Sarah said, smiling kindly. "We've all been there. Consider it a random act of kindness." She quickly paid for Mark's groceries, including Lily's much-desired cookies, before he could argue further. Mark was overwhelmed with gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "That was incredibly kind of you." "It was nothing," Sarah insisted, though she secretly relished his appreciation. "No, really, I insist on paying you back," Mark said, his jaw set with determination. "I can bring it by tomorrow." Sarah hesitated for a moment. She didn't want him to feel obligated, but she also didn't want to insult him by refusing. She quickly scribbled down a fake address on a piece of paper, an address of a small, unassuming house in a quiet neighborhood. "Here," she said, handing him the paper. "Just drop it off whenever you can. No rush at all." She hoped this would give him a sense of closure and allow her to see him again without revealing her true identity just yet. She watched as relief washed over his face. He was a man of integrity, and she admired that about him. The next day, Mark drove to the address Sarah had given him, Lily happily chattering in the back seat. The house was small and slightly run down, with peeling paint and an overgrown lawn. He felt a pang of sympathy for Sarah, confirming his assumption that she was struggling. He planned to simply drop off the money, but as he approached the front door, he noticed something. The porch light was hanging precariously, its wires exposed. Remembering his offer to fix things, he decided to do something more than just repay the money. "Lily, wait here," he said, grabbing his toolbox from the back of his truck. He quickly assessed the situation and, with his expert handyman skills, reattached the porch light, securing the wires and making it safe. It was a small gesture, but it felt good to use his abilities to help someone in need. He left the money under the doormat, feeling a sense of satisfaction. He had repaid Sarah's kindness in a way that felt meaningful. Unbeknownst to Mark, Sarah was watching from a distance. She had parked her car down the street, curious to see how he would repay her. She saw him arrive with Lily, and her heart skipped a beat. When she saw Mark grab his toolbox and start fixing the porch light, her eyes widened in surprise and admiration. It wasn't just about repaying the money. It was about going above and beyond, about using his skills to make someone's life a little bit brighter. Witnessing this act of kindness firsthand solidified her feelings for him. It wasn't just gratitude or admiration. It was something deeper, something more profound. She realized, with a flutter of excitement and a hint of trepidation, that she was falling for Mark. The simple woman had fallen for the kind-hearted single dad. Now she had to decide what to do about it. Sarah knew she couldn't keep up the charade forever. The longer she waited, the more complicated things would become. She made a decision. She would reveal her true identity to Mark. The thought terrified her. What if he felt betrayed? What if he thought she was playing some kind of cruel game? What if he was completely turned off by her wealth and power? She imagined him recoiling in disgust, rejecting her outright. Despite her fears, she knew it was the right thing to do. She couldn't build a genuine relationship based on lies and deception. She needed to be honest with him, to trust that he would see beyond her title and her money and recognize the person she truly was. She picked up her phone and drafted a text message, her fingers trembling. It was time to face the music. Sarah arranged to meet Mark at a small coffee shop near his construction site. She knew she had to do it in person. As she waited for him, she smoothed down her tailored blazer and adjusted her pearl necklace. She was dressed in her usual business attire, the clothes of a CEO, not the simple woman he knew. When Mark arrived, his eyes widened in shock. He stared at her, his mouth slightly ajar. He looked from her perfectly styled hair to her expensive shoes, then back up to her face. "Sarah," he asked, his voice filled with confusion. "What's going on? Why are you dressed like this?" He gestured awkwardly at her outfit. The shock was evident on his face. He was clearly struggling to reconcile the woman in front of him with the image he had in his mind. This was not the Sarah he thought he knew. This was someone else entirely. Mark sat down heavily, his mind reeling. He felt a wave of anger wash over him, followed by a deep sense of betrayal. "Who are you, really?" he asked, his voice laced with suspicion. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" He struggled to reconcile the simple woman he had helped in the supermarket with the powerful CEO sitting before him. It didn't make sense. Was she mocking him? Was this some kind of elaborate game? He thought back to his offer to fix things around her house, the address of which was a rundown shack. "Did you lie to me about everything?" he demanded, his eyes narrowed. "Did you let me think you were struggling just to what? Make yourself feel better?" He felt foolish, taken advantage of. The kindness he had shown her now felt like a mistake, a naive act that had been twisted into something ugly. He couldn't understand her motives, and the uncertainty gnawed at him. Sarah took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly. "Mark, please, let me explain," she pleaded. "I wasn't trying to deceive you. I swear." She explained her reasons for being in disguise, about feeling disconnected from her customers and wanting to experience the supermarket as a regular shopper. She told him how his kindness had touched her, how his interactions with Lily had impressed her, how she had genuinely enjoyed their brief conversations. "And the address?" Mark interrupted, his voice still skeptical. "It's a house I own," Sarah admitted. It's a property I've been meaning to fix up, but haven't gotten around to it. I panicked. I didn't want you to think I was rich." She looked directly into his eyes, her expression earnest. "Mark, my feelings for you are real. They have nothing to do with my money or my position. I admire your kindness, your strength, and your dedication to Lily. Please believe me." She paused, her heart pounding in her chest, waiting for his response. Mark stared at Sarah, his expression unreadable. He could see the sincerity in her eyes, but it was still difficult to process everything she had told him. He was hesitant, unsure if he could truly trust her. I don't know what to say," he stammered, running a hand through his hair. "It's a lot to take in." He started to understand her perspective, her desire to connect with ordinary people, and her genuine admiration for him and Lily. But the deception still stung. "I need time," he said finally, his voice softer now. "I need time to think about everything you've said, to figure out how I feel." He stood up, pushing his chair back from the table. "Thank you for explaining," he added, his tone still cautious. I'll be in touch." He turned and walked away, leaving Sarah sitting alone at the coffee shop, her heart heavy with uncertainty. A few days later, Mark called Sarah. He asked if they could talk, really talk. They met at a quiet park, away from the pressures of their daily lives. This time, Sarah dressed casually, hoping to put him at ease. They sat on a bench, facing each other, and began to unravel their fears and insecurities. Mark admitted that he was intimidated by Sarah's wealth and power, worried that he wouldn't be good enough for her. He feared that she would eventually tire of his simple life and move on. Sarah, in turn, confessed her fear of being judged for her success, of being seen as cold and unapproachable. She shared her loneliness and her desire for genuine connection, explaining that's why she felt the need to disguise herself in the first place. They spoke honestly and openly, laying their hearts bare. It was a difficult conversation, but it was necessary. It was a path to understanding each other. As they talked, Mark began to see things more clearly. He realized that Sarah's wealth and position didn't define her. She was still the same kind, compassionate person he had met in the supermarket, the woman who had offered him a helping hand when he was struggling. He remembered the genuine warmth in her eyes, the way she had listened to him without judgment, the sincerity of her words. Those qualities hadn't changed, regardless of her bank account. He understood now that she had been searching for something real, something that her wealth couldn't buy. And he, a simple construction worker and single dad, had inadvertently offered her that connection. He realized that his initial assumptions about her were just as flawed as her initial deception. It wasn't about money or power. It was about genuine human connection. He began to see her in a new light. With a renewed sense of understanding and trust, Mark and Sarah decided to start dating. It wasn't easy. They came from different worlds, with different priorities and different expectations. Sarah had to learn to appreciate the simple pleasures of Mark's life, like picnics in the park and evenings spent playing board games with Lily. Mark, in turn, had to adjust to Sarah's fast-paced world of business meetings and charity galas. They faced challenges navigating their different social circles and finding common ground. There were moments of awkwardness and misunderstanding, but they were committed to making it work. They learned to communicate openly, to compromise, and to celebrate their differences. They discovered that love could bridge any gap, no matter how wide. They found joy in sharing their lives even when it was difficult. Sarah was mindful of Mark's pride and his desire to be independent. She knew she couldn't simply shower him and Lily with gifts. Instead, she found subtle ways to ease their burdens. She arranged for Lily to receive a scholarship to a prestigious preschool, knowing that a better education would open doors for her in the future. She quietly paid off some of Mark's medical bills, claiming it was a clerical error on the hospital's part. She also used her influence to help Mark's construction company secure a lucrative contract, ensuring that he had steady work and a stable income. She did all of this without revealing her involvement, wanting to help without making him feel uncomfortable or indebted. She wanted him to succeed on his own merits, knowing that his hard work and dedication were more than enough to pave the way for a brighter future. Lily quickly grew to adore Sarah. She saw her as a fun, caring friend who always made time for her. Sarah would read her bedtime stories, help her with her homework, and take her on exciting adventures to the zoo and the park. Lily loved Sarah's playful spirit and her genuine interest in her life. She saw how happy Sarah made her dad, and that made her happy too. She often drew pictures of the three of them together, a happy family. Mark watched their bond grow with a sense of gratitude. He knew that Sarah was a positive influence in their lives, bringing joy, stability, and a whole lot of love. He couldn't imagine their lives without her. Sarah wasn't just dating her dad, she was becoming a part of their family. In the end, Mark and Sarah found happiness together. They proved that kindness and genuine connection could overcome any obstacle, even a supermarket chain. Their love story was a testament to the power of seeing beyond appearances, of valuing character over wealth, and of embracing the unexpected twists and turns that life throws their way. They learned to navigate their different worlds with grace and humor, always supporting each other and cherishing the unique qualities that made them who they were. They built a strong, loving family, proving that family isn't just about blood, it's about the people who choose to be there for you, through thick and thin. Their journey was a reminder that true love can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes all it takes is a simple act of kindness to change your life forever. Years later, Mark, Sarah, and Lily strolled through the aisles of the very same supermarket where they first met. Lily, now a bright and confident young girl, held both of their hands, chattering excitedly about her upcoming school play. Mark smiled at Sarah, a silent acknowledgement of their journey. He knew now that Sarah was the owner of the entire chain, but it didn't matter. He loved her for who she was, not what she owned. They stopped to pick out ingredients for Lily's favorite cookies, laughing and teasing each other as they navigated the familiar aisles. This time, Mark wasn't a frazzled single dad struggling to make ends meet, and Sarah wasn't a disguised CEO searching for connection. They were simply a family bound by love and a shared history. Their story was a reminder that seeing beyond appearances and valuing genuine kindness can lead to the most unexpected and beautiful destinations. Their happiness echoed throughout the supermarket, a testament to the power of love and connection.